I go down there and got totally wasted. And so I walk down to breakfast and I open the door. They're all there at breakfast. And it was like a record skip, right? Because they all like turn and look at me. Right. And you just see disgust, disappointment. There's that guy, the entire room. And I said, you know what? I got to own up to this.
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks, Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
All right, guys, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. I am so excited for today's episode. We are with Ray Higdon. Let me tell you a little bit about Ray. Ray is in South Florida, lives in Fort Myers, Florida. He's the founder of Rank Makers. He is married to his wife, Jessica. He is a proud father with another one on the way. I'm not sure when Jessica's due, but I know it's shortly and soon. So congratulations. Ray has done so many things. The list is long, you guys. I have this long sheet of all of Ray's accomplishments. They're so amazing. But just a few here. He has shared the stage with people like Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Robert Kiyosaki. He's featured in Better Networker magazine, Small Business Owner magazine. But this is what's cool, and I actually see the sign there behind you. If you guys are watching live, you can see the Inc. 5000, right? Coaching company was recognized by Inc. 5000 as one of America's fastest growing companies. He's been a #1 income earner in network marketing company. The list goes on and on, but truly what I'm most impressed with, Ray, is the man that you are and who I've learned to become, as I've become aware of you, as I've learned who you are. And so I cannot thank you enough for being part of Connect, Share, Prosper today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
So let's start with, first of all, you just did an event in Dallas where I got to go to, and I want to just share something with the audience that I was so impressed with. I don't know how long you marketed that event, but here's this event after on the back end of another big event, and you put, I think, 300 people in the room. It was like standing room only. And you grabbed a microphone, and for 3 hours, you just hit everybody with amazing content. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you, man. What blew me away there is we had people, so it was a 3-hour event, like you said, and we had people that flew in for that 3 hours from Cincinnati, Colorado, California, and one other place. I was just like, wow, really? That's amazing.
It was amazing. It really was, to see people from all over the country fly in to see this event that you delivered such value for 3 hours. It was really impressive. But that's the Ray Higdon today. That's who Ray is today. Where did it start for you, Ray? Where was the entrepreneurial thing that started for you? And help us understand where that started.
Yeah. So, and I'll give a lot of times I'm being that we're on a more entrepreneur broad kind of thing. I'll give a little bit different slice of the story than I normally do. So I had, I'll go back a little bit. I've always known that I wanted to do something around business or sales. I mean, in middle school, I was moving 90 airheads a day. I found this one weird store that sold them for 10 cents each, and I sell them for a quarter. And again, I was moving 90 to 100 a day in middle school. And, they actually created a Ray Higdon rule where you can't sell candy at that school anymore. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And so I always kind of had that in me, but when it came to like a career, I really listened to everyone else, and I just went and got a job and worked my way up in the corporate ladder. And at the age of I think like 25, maybe 26, I'd worked my way up to a pretty good paying salary job in IT. So I was a database administrator. I was working first I worked for a local county government for quite a few years, and then I worked for an insurance company. And I worked my way up to a pretty good salary. I think most people would agree it's a good salary. It's like $80,000 a year. And didn't have a college degree, even though my job required it. The last 2 jobs I had required it. never got a college degree, took some college, but never finished. And
so they
and I
required
realized,
it. Did they know you didn't have the college degree? And oh, that's awesome.
yeah, the job that I had before that last job was at the local county government, and that position I got required a college degree, but I wrote a 5-year action plan for that job before I had it, and had it bound and delivered to everyone on the hiring committee.
So good.
And so I just did stuff no one else did. I just worked circles around everyone there. And so I would get stuff that I wasn't, on paper at least qualified for.
Yeah, that's good.
And so then when I went, the insurance company, anyway, in the insurance company, which was the last job I ever had, which was back in 2005, I left that job. I noticed some things. The harder I would work, the more they would pay me, but also the more they would demand of me. I was spending more time with pictures of my kids than the real thing. I looked at my boss and his boss and her boss, and they were all making more money than me, but they were also more miserable. So that was my future. And I just didn't like it. At the time, 2005, I had a lot of buddies from high school that were here in this state, here in Florida, in Southwest Florida, killing it in real estate. And I'm like, man, if these knuckleheads can do it, I can do this too. And so I started April 2004 was the first time I read a book on anything entrepreneur. And that book was by a guy that would later mentor me. And it was Building Wealth by Russ Whitney.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the first book. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad was maybe the second book, and Think and Grow Rich was maybe the third book. So I got a late start to this whole self-development thing, I think. And so I partnered up with someone I was working with, and we actually started buying rental properties in East Fort Myers and not great areas, but for cash flow. And we started doing that. And I ended up leaving 1 year later. I left April 2005 and to focus on real estate full time. So I had my mortgage license. So I was doing some mortgages. I was flipping some houses here and there. Then I started doing what they call wholesaling. So I was selling contracts in real estate, doing really, really well. Real estate, we had built up to 37 rental units. So we had duplexes, triplexes, single families, all in rough areas so that, they would cash flow. When the market changed, it just really hit hard, because anything we used to be able to rent for like $800 a month went to like $500 a month, like almost, it seemed like overnight. And instantly, even if it's at full occupancy, which they never got back to, we still were losing money at that point. And so that sucked. All of the deals that I'd been working on, no one could get financing for them. So that sucked. And so like all money kept going out, stopped coming in. And so I kind of saw what was happening, and I took a job as a platform speaker with a company. So I went from doing all that to, oh my God, I better do something. And I joined in I started platform speaking for a company, and it was 22 days a month on the road, Vegas, Chicago, Phoenix, Miami, LA, selling a $7,000 system in a 90-minute pitch to a cold audience, all performance-based. So wow. you don't sell, you don't eat. And that taught me a lot.
Yeah. What was the biggest lesson that taught you doing that?
A few things. One, it really impressed me that I was even able to do it, because you had to memorize a 90-page script word for word. Wow. just to even apply and get picked. And then just in that hype, I mean, you think about it. I mean, most people, to people they don't know, can't sell anything in a 90-minute pitch, let alone a $7,000 thing. And so it was good for me at the time, because it took my mind off of things. And but in the meantime, there were a lot of other things just falling to pieces. And so during, like, kind of right before that time, I had gone through a divorce. I had gotten engaged, gotten disengaged, and I came to the point where that company was no longer operating like it should. And I actually, they kind of started ignoring their customers and started just not being a good company. Yeah. And I remember one of my last events I'm speaking to this older lady, And and a thought crossed my mind. I'm like, I hope she doesn't buy, because I didn't want her to get like screwed or not paid attention to. And so that was the last one I went out to that I ever did, because I realized I'm like, I can't represent this company anymore, even though that was now my sole source of income. So I went back home to foreclosure, to lose it all, to have just kind of be in a stupor of what the hell am I going to do? And it sucked. It definitely sucked. So for about
the integrity was big for you, because you couldn't sell a product you didn't believe in. And yet it had to feel incredibly heavy. I can't imagine what that moment was like. You're listening to this lady and you're thinking in your head, please don't buy this. And at the same time, there's probably another conversation going, like you just said, I got divorced. I've got all these rental properties, engaged, disengaged, and I'm selling this product as my livelihood, but I don't believe it anymore. And I've got a lady in here, I'm thinking, I can't buy it. I can't imagine how heavy that must have felt at that time.
Yeah, it sucked. But once that kind of went in my head of, I hope she doesn't buy, I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I just can't do it anymore. So I was just like, I'm going to face the consequences, whatever that looks like. And I didn't know what it looks like. But went back home, left that job, and just everything kind of went to hell. And, and so it was tough. And so for about a year, I had started dating again, started dating my girlfriend back then, now my beautiful wife, Jessica. And for about a year, maybe a little bit longer, she's working at the makeup counter, paying my utility bills while I try to figure things out. And it just sucked. I tried all kinds of different little things here and there, but I was just out of the game. Just mentally, I was out of the game. And the thing that actually got me back in the game is about the least expected thing that could have happened is I went to a seminar, and I went to this seminar and I'm like I hope I learn how to make some money because it just sucks right there. And what I got out of it was repair relationship with my dad was on a to-do list with no priority. And I hadn't talked to my dad in 13 years. I had abuse as a kid, and I have every reason in the world to not, talk to him, but he had never met his grandsons. And that was 2009. And I just decided, I'm like, you know what, if he died without me at least trying, that would just be too hard. I just couldn't handle that. And so went up to Indiana. He actually paid my way because I didn't have money, but he paid my way, and I went up there, brought my two sons, re-engaged with him. We still don't have a perfect relationship, but at least we have something. And I came home, and it was like I released garbage, or I released like just mental trash. And less than 1 week later, I was introduced to a network marketing company that I would go on to become the #1 income earner of. And so didn't expect reunite with dad to do that, but it did.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think had you not done that, you would have been open to that opportunity?
I definitely don't think so.
Wow.
I really don't at all.
That's such an interesting thing, because like you said, you probably went to that not expecting that.
No, that was not even registered. I mean, I didn't even think about that. But it's interesting because I think, what I've learned over the years of coaching a lot of people, training a lot of people, is that a lot of times people they're seeking things outside of them. They're seeking a skill set or a strategy or a tactic or something like that. And the big movement for them is actually internal. Either releasing resentment or releasing anger or hatred or working on their self-worth. And I've actually found the biggest, if I go back and like Steve Jobs talks about connect the dots, the biggest movements for me have been more releasing than acquiring. And so like working on self-worth issues, working on, different things that used to give me anger, resentment, and shame and things like that. And so it's been more the internal work that has moved the needle the most, even though we invest a lot of money in coaching and masterminds and all this different stuff. It's actually been more releasing that has boosted us more than anything else.
I wonder, so it's interesting, and I've known about your story. I've heard you share parts of it, and listening to you sort of relive that today is interesting. And I think there's this why I feel sort of a kinship to you, because you and I have a very parts of that are very similar. I started in real estate about the same time, and it was really good for a couple of years, and then it was really bad for a bunch of years, and it was heavy and hard. And I was doing a lot of different things to try to recover and make money and figure it out. And so I think as you were sharing that, I definitely had a sense of that heaviness. And guys, we're listening to Ray Higdon again on Connect, Share, Prosper. If you're listening live on Facebook, make sure you ask a question that we can ask Ray while he's live with us. So here you are in this moment. This is where I want to get to. This is where you are in the moment. I imagine your confidence was pretty low too. Like for me, it was. I know, and I don't know for you, but like
For sure.
right. And so how did you pick yourself up now that you're into this new network marketing experience? First of all, did you think, oh, I can do this, right? If your confidence is low, here's this new opportunity, but you took it and ran with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's one of those things. I heard someone say, I forget who said this, but someone said that anger is better than depression. And I think I was just more angry. I was more angry than depressed. I wasn't totally over all my stuff. And I have a terrible story to back that up. So I basically adopted I am going to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen. So I don't know if there was much belief there as far as, oh, I believe I can do it. It was like, I'm going to make this damn thing happen. And I feel like that's a different energy. I don't know.
Yeah,
but so I had adopted a daily routine. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do each and every day. I'm going to go for 20 no's a day. I'm going to do a video every day, and I'm going to work on self-development every day, like some kind of, chapter in a book or audio or course or whatever. And so those three things I was going to do every day, no matter what. And so I get like maybe 2 weeks into it, and I recruited a few people. I had started to build, and I get a call from some guy, Chris, and he's like, "Hey man, you won the trip." And I'm like, what trip and who are you?
Yeah,
and he was one of the owners of that network marketing company that I was so focused on getting out of my crap that I didn't really connect, that's who that is. And I didn't even know about an incentive trip, and I won an incentive trip to St. Kitts. And so I go down there, and, everyone's drinking, having a good time. Well, the problem is when I was down and depressed, I was getting blackout drunk multiple times a week to just try to drown that feeling of loserness and drown that feeling of, I just didn't want to feel the way I felt. And so I would just pound tequila all night long. I remember there were nights I had 17 shots, 18 shots. I would be grabbing drinks from people. I'm just drinking whatever till oblivion, until I can't think anymore. And I wake up and I don't know where I am. And so I go down there pretty fresh from that kind of scenario and got totally wasted, was a total jerk. And 2 of the 3 owners wanted to boot me out of the company.
Wow.
Now at that time, I was not the number 1 earner. I was an up and comer. And they're like, dude, that guy's trash, man. We need to get rid of him. So 2 of the 3 wanted to boot me, and one of them fought for me. And then about maybe 5-6 months later, I did end up moving into the number 1 income earner spot. So I think they're glad they kept me. But that's how much of a mess I was in. And I think some people, they think that, oh, I had a breakthrough, everything's good now. Everything wasn't good now. I still had some relapses. I still had some down moments. They were just fewer and farther between. And so, maybe I would have a, little flashback of loserness once a month, and then maybe once every other month, and things like that. So I wasn't fully healed, but I was moving forward very consistently.
Constant improvement is the game, right? And there's a couple things you shared there. I want to unpack there, because there's so much wisdom in what you shared in that experience. And in fact, I saw a question here. Someone wanted to know, what was the course you took that gave you that huge aha? I think regarding your father, was that a specific course? That
was the Landmark Forum. And the interesting thing about that is I didn't have any money. Someone I didn't know reached out to me on Facebook and says, hey, I think you should go to this course. And I'm like, and they're like, I'll pay for you.
Wow.
How weird is that? Wow. Someone I didn't know.
What a blessing.
Paid for me. Now I've since recommended that a million times. I've probably had 250 people go through that because I've suggested it, and they've sent me their completion pictures and all kinds of different things. But Landmark Forum, and then I did the advanced, and it's a great organization. They've softened a little bit, I think, over the years. They used to be really hardcore, but still a great organization.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ray. So you get to become the number one income earner. I shouldn't say you get to become. You worked your way in. That wasn't the phrase. You worked your way. You busted it. You're on this trip. I know you weren't the number one income earner yet, but you're on this trip, as you said, and you've got 2 of the 3 owners that want to boot you out. I'm curious, what was that like with that one owner, and what was the conversation with you and him, and what is it that he was seeing in you? You're in this place that you don't probably see it yet in yourself. What was he seeing in you, and was that helpful to have somebody believing in you that was pushing you along?
That's a great question. And the truth is, I didn't know any of this until years later. And so here's how it went down. So they had this catamaran tour, and on this catamaran, there was way too much drinking, and I was number one, right? And so I'm a total jerk on this boat tour. I blacked out. I don't know all the things I did, but I was a total mess. And the next morning I wake up and I realized, I had one of my buddies was there, and he's like, dude, yeah, it wasn't good yesterday, man. I'm like, great. And so I walked down to breakfast, and, I opened the door, because this was a company like trip, right? So there's like maybe 70, 80 people is my guess there. And I opened the door, they're all there at breakfast. And it was like a record skip, right? Because they all like turn and look at me, and you just see disgust, disappointment. There's that guy, the entire room. And I said, you know what? I got to own up to this. I went to every single table and apologized. And I said, listen, I'm just getting out of a bad situation. I drank way too much. I just want to say I'm sorry. I don't recall all that I did. I know that I was a total jerk. This isn't me. I just want to apologize. I went to every single table and apologized, including the owner's table. And I didn't have a great relationship with any of them. I mean, we had just met, and that was their first, reaction to me, right? And so I did that, and then, whatever. That's it's just what it was. Yeah. Years later, I learned that the one owner, when I did that, that's why he fought for me.
Wow.
Because he thought that was such a stand-up thing to do. And so I didn't know I was fighting for my income there. I was doing it because it was the right thing to do. And I didn't want to be a chicken and a coward and just try to sit there and pretend like nothing happened. Yeah. And so I just did what I thought was right. And that's actually what kept me in that company.
That's amazing, Ray. Taking accountability, guys. A ton of great lessons. There's so much I want to go there, but I want to fast forward a little bit through the process, because you work hard. You're the number one income earner. And at some point you step out of network marketing, you've kind of mastered this game, and now you're teaching people and helping them. Help us just through that transition, and then what you're doing today.
Yeah. So, back, 10 years ago, we were doing my wife and I were doing a lot of stuff on social media that really no one else was doing. I mean, there were a few people doing it here and there, but I mean, her at the age of 21 built a $10,000 a month income solely from strangers on Facebook. Me, I was doing videos like nonstop. Like I remember going to one of the company conferences, and one of the executives was like, "Oh, you're the YouTube guy." And I'm like, I guess, right? Because I mean, I had committed a video a day. I mean, I've done 1 to 2 videos a day for 9.5 years now. So
I heard you say that at your event, and I actually shot a video the next day about saying everyone wants to be great, but will anyone be consistent? And I was like, Ray Higdon's consistent, my friends. Man.
Yeah, it's strange, I know, but and so what started happening, which we never anticipated. I never thought like this was not some plan or something like that. But we started having other leaders saying, "Hey, man, can you teach my team some of what you're doing?" People would go to Jess and be like, "I hear you're killing it, like prospecting on Facebook. How are you doing that?" And so we started getting people reaching out to us. Then we started, I think one of the first things that happened was in 2010, a training company reached out to us and said, "Hey, is there any way, would you want to partner up and we'll help you create a course and we'll sell it and give you a cut?" I'm like, "Sure." Right. Yeah. I didn't know how to do that. So I'm like, Sure. And so I did that with one company. I did it with a second company. I did it with a third company. And I started getting more and more people reaching out to us about training and coaching. And, we're still building our organization because that was our focus. In 2013, the company we were a part of, or a company we were number one incomers of, they, through kind of a long story, but the owners had some health issues and things like that, decided to merge into another company. And it's, for whatever reason, that's right at the same time that the people wanting us to coach them and things really skyrocketed. So we launched a coaching mastermind back in 2013 that we had no idea if anyone would do. And we had all kinds of people jumping into this higher ticket coaching thing, and it was kind of wild. And so we continued to do both for about 3 years. We did coaching and training, and we continued to build that new company for about 3 years. And then in 2016, it was all right, where's our heart? I mean, where can we make the biggest impact? And we felt that we could make a bigger impact as coaches and trainers. And so in 2016, we actually retired from building any network marketing organization. And now we work with a lot of different companies, a lot of different leaders. We have, 50 leaders and 48 leaders in our high-end mastermind. And we have 14,000 in our private group. It's a private community called Rank Makers. And so it's $20 a month, and we have about 14,000 in there. And we help a lot of people rank advance, and it's been awesome.
That's awesome. 14,000 people. Now, I'll come to that in a second. I just want to talk about those videos. You said something at the event here in Dallas I wrote down. It was one of my big takeaways. You said, because when you talked about 9.5 years, and now this guy's like, oh, it's the YouTube guy. Well, it's 9.5 years of videos every day. And you said, I could have a low production day, but not a no production day. And you put out these videos. But what I also love, and if you guys watch and haven't seen, go look up Ray's stuff on YouTube and on Facebook. Follow Ray. We'll talk about that at the end. But you did a video, and I don't know how long ago it was. I saw it again for the second time, about ham sandwiches. Dude, it was so good that you kind of joke and spoof on the industry while respecting it at the same time, which I thought was brilliant, about ham sandwiches. And I don't know, you probably get that a lot. People talk about that video a lot.
Yeah, we have a few like that. We have a few goofy, videos of me prospecting my wife and things like that. So we got a few goofy ones like that for sure. And I'm actually not that impressive on YouTube, unfortunately, because we had some people programmatically attack our channel a few years ago. So I went from 25,000 subscribers, millions of views, to it got shut down, and they brought it back, shut it back down. And so I'm not that impressive on YouTube, unfortunately, but yeah.
I love your videos, man. They're so good. There's so much content, so much good stuff. We've got some people showing you some love on the Facebook page. I love the trainings. Yeah. So I know we have lots of Master Networks members that are in Rank Makers as well.
Oh,
so,
wow. That's cool.
Love that. So 14,000 people, you're giving value. What kind of value are you doing, and what's Rank Makers about? If someone listening today is in network marketing, part of Master Networks, and they want to learn more about Rank Makers, how can they do that, and what could they expect?
Yeah. And let me I'll just pull this up. So Rank Makers is network marketing specific. I mean, we have other things that realtors, insurance people, and whatever, like our stuff, but Rank Makers is network marketing specific. So we launched this. It's a private community where I go live every single day. I give an action step in a training. We have rewards and recognition. We have accountability. And what I like to say about, instead of saying here's what it is, here's what it's done. So
here are the results.
We launched it July. What's that?
The results are amazing. Share those.
Yeah. We launched it July of 2017. And since we launched, we've helped network marketers enroll 126,954 new customers, 28,279 new reps, and we've helped create 5,766 rank advances. So we actually track production. And last week, I think Rank Makers brought in 1,400 and so new customers, 380 new reps, and we had 55 rank advances. And so we track it, everything we do in there is solely for production. It's not for applause or impressing or whatever else. It's to get people making more money, recruiting, rank advancing, et cetera. We actually have a unique position in our in our company org chart, which is a member success manager. And so, Mary Kate is our member success manager, and her sole mission in life, her sole focus is how do we help members get more production? How do we get them easier plugged in? How do we make it easier for her? So, because of her and some of our other efforts, we're currently in the works of building out an app to make it even easier. Wow. And so we're just constantly looking at how do we help people get more production in their network marketing company inside of Rankmakers.
So good. Guys, again, we're talking to Ray Higdon. Ray, I'm going to ask one other question here in a second, but before I do, where can people follow you? How can they find out stuff you're doing? What social media, et cetera? What's the easiest way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, the two I'm most on are Facebook and Instagram, and so both of them, if you search Ray Higdon, you'll find me. So Instagram is /Ray Higdon or @Ray Higdon. And Facebook, it's facebook.com/Ray Higdon page. Tons of free videos, tons of free content, and we do a lot of giveaways too. So we like to have a lot of fun. As far as Rankmakers, that's simple. It's at rankmakers.com.
Love it. Guys, if you have a question for Ray, post it here. And I'm going to ask Ray a final question. There's a question I ask everybody who's on my show, because what we're teaching people is business principles and networking. So if you had one tip about how people could improve their networking, a tip about networking, how to connect with others for the purposes of building relationships and growing their businesses, what would be a tip you would share with people? And again, I always ask without much thought, so it's kind of off the cuff, but what would be a tip you would leave somebody to say, look, this is what you should do when you're building your network or building relationships in business?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of I see this as one tip, but I guess it could be considered two. And that is, when you meet someone, be more focused on listening to them and letting them talk without you bringing up what you do or what you sell or what your goal is or whatever like that. And by the way, it's different online versus offline. So social media, I would have a different suggestion for you actually, but offline, if you're at a networking meeting or you're meeting someone or whatever, and then make sure you follow up with them. And it's funny because it's not like this is mind blowing, but it is so shocking how few people follow up. And I was just at that, at the event prior to our event in Dallas. I met a big earner. She gave me her card. I sent her a message that night, and she saw me the next morning. You would think that I'm like, Elon Musk or something. She's like, oh my God, you already sent me a message. That was amazing. I'm like, yeah, isn't that sad that that's amazing? And so I would say, listen when you're first interacting with someone, especially offline, and then send them a follow-up message either that day or the next day. And if you just do that, unfortunately, I guess you'll stand out because so few people do that. They'll take the card and they'll say, I gotta remember to contact her. Don't remember to contact her. What I do is I put it in my pocket, and when I get to my hotel room or I get to wherever, I place it on my computer, and it doesn't move until I'm ready to email them, and at least email them, maybe something else. But that would be my very, very simple tip.
So, and I see some questions hitting about it. Like, one was, how does Ray follow up with prospects? And you just gave us the answer on that. So again, you're not sending that off to somebody else. You're following up with these people because you met with them, right? You're not outsourcing it to other people. No, there might be things that are outsourced, but that initial follow-up is you.
Yeah, the initial. So we create systems. So like, one of our systems is we have another position in our company is called the Growth and Gratitude Director. Pretty cool name, right?
Yeah, I love it.
And so she runs our group for higher end earners. So in network marketing, we have a group that's free, and it's for people that can verify and are making over $100,000 a year. So we have 381 in there, and we send them birthday gifts. We send them welcome gifts, like branded, nice. I mean, we spend maybe $150 a year on each member. And it's just to stay at top of mind, just to show them that we appreciate what they've done for the profession. And so that's a system, but that's not my initial kind of contact. My initial contact is, I just want to send them a message. Now, if you have a particular thing you're wanting to sell or whatever, then you could bring that up in that second message. But I would try very hard not to bring it up in the first encounter.
So Ray, I just want to point something out to our people that is incredibly impressive from my standpoint about you. Okay, there's two things that jump out to me. Because if you're listening to this, I want you guys to focus on two things that Ray does that I've noticed. Number one is, your scripts, your responses are so internalized that they are you. It's not like they're not like, oh, well, I learned this script, I'm going to give it, but they're you, and you're systematic in the fact that that's the way you do it. And it's you. It's not canned and so forth. So I've noticed that about you. I've watched you in Dallas. I've watched you here. Like, how to do these things. You've become so good at it, consistent. The second thing is, your numbers. And that's crucial in business for people to know their numbers. It's one of the biggest weaknesses in business. Has that always been the case?
No, it definitely hasn't. It definitely hasn't always been the case. And I don't know, there are numbers that are important to me. I know last week we brought in 245 new rank makers. So those there are certain numbers that I know and I keep very close eye on. And then for everything else, I have other people, right? I have more detailed people in my organization that help with, profit margins. I don't remember that kind of stuff, which is a good one to remember. But, there's certain things that are important to me to move the needle that I do pay attention to.
Guys, if you're listening, this has been Ray Higdon on Connect, Share, Prosper. I know a few of you asked some questions. So if you stay on for just a second after the end of this episode, I'll ask